What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Bobby Fine, Eric Sheethaber. We're going to be talking through this little three-game MLB slate. Very, very light day for baseball. Not a lot going on, and in the baseball streets. But we'll talk through it and see if we can find a way to maybe get a little different and give ourselves a chance in some tournaments. Sheets, I'm guessing you ran some stuff and take a look at some things. What kind of stuff were you getting in general? Because
I want to update a couple of things before we get into it. First of all, so they've been running these qualifiers for the LOL whatever championship, whatever, pretty much for the last like 6 months or 4 months, whatever it is. And I've been doing pretty well with League of Legends, and I got to I had actually 7 seats, and it turns out that you could only have 8. I feel like one of those guys, that like that is like. And then there was a qualifier that ran like 2 weeks ago that it was a tie between me and another person. And when there's a tie, they have a tiebreaker, and it's been a freaking nightmare to get this thing scheduled. It's like 3 different times it was scheduled. One time it was scheduled, and then he just didn't put in a lineup. So when that happens, in fairness, they just like cancel it. And in my head, I'm like, he probably just freaking angle shooting, making sure that he likes the slate before whatever, going back and forth and back and forth. I even offered him, like, dude, let's just chop. I asked support if they could just chop it, whatever, at this point. I know. And finally, they freaking ran it. They ran it the other day, and I freaking took them out. So I maxed out my entries in that.
Love it.
Yeah, and that's going to save me money because because they don't run the actual contest until like mid-September or something. So that's like 2 months of me not having to put any entries into these qualifiers anymore. The other kind of like wild thing that happened over the weekend is, you ready for this? So I won a seat into the like, it's not a live final, but it's like something of the F1. Well, because what's his name? Ace Stukas, a couple of the NASCAR guys keep on asking me, could I do F1 projection? I never really have a chance to do it. And it's a pretty weird sport because you really have to try to get unique, although it's really tough to do. And so I fired some stuff over the weekend. I won the freaking qualifier by like 0.02 points. So that's worth like $3,000. And that doesn't happen until like November or something. But so I'm piling up like little successes in these other slates, in these other sports to kind of boost the bankroll a little bit while the struggles and the fighting always continues in the major sports. So
that's awesome though. That's really, really cool.
So feel free, and Wimbledon started today. Yep. So everybody, just watch the projections. They keep updating and stuff like that. There's a lot of big money prizes. So, while a lot of people think that this part of the year is kind of like dead for DFS, for me, it's just like every day. So, this weekend, MMA takes a break for a week. So there's going to be no MMA. But, just keep checking back for all the other sports also.
No, that's awesome. I throw out my one thing from the weekend that I did have a shot to win the $5 big one in the golf.
Oh wow!
But I just it was just a bad day. Jake Knapp shot 2 over, which is the only thing, because I had Davis, I had Davis, Bhatia, Thompson, Cam Davis, Thompson, Bhatia. Cam Young at the end, sort of giving away the last couple of holes, really hurt. But then I had Taylor Moore, so I had nobody worse than 10th, and everybody was in the top 4, other than that, except for one guy. So it was like usually good enough to win with a 650 or whatever it was, but not quite good enough this week.
I got like 4th or 5th or something in the round 4 showdown for like 3,000 on Sunday.
Oh,
that
nice.
was pretty much it. So for today's slate, I think this is a very important slate for you guys to follow, because when you have really, really busy days with a million sports, you're just kind of scrambling to get what you got done, fill your lineups in or whatever it is. And when I say stuff like, well, you should work on your building and you work on your late swaps and work on your whatever, everybody's like, yeah, I know, but I'm like, so this is the perfect slate, okay, to deal with this stuff, because you have a very unique setup for baseball. You have one game that's at 3:00, and then 3 hours until the next game.
Right.
Okay. After that, even there's like an hour and 45 minutes until the Coors game. So get some practice with the late swapping. Okay. There's not going to be a lot of pressure on you. There's not a billion things, and you have like a long time to do it. Okay, so
Yeah.
I would encourage everybody. As a matter of fact, there's a chance that I might go live at 6 tonight. Actually, if I do, I'll let everybody know. For no other reason than to do like a late swap thing, so that people can see what I do and how I do it. We'll have pretty much the first game in the bag.
Yeah.
Okay, probably by then, and I'll show you little techniques that I use for late swapping. And I can't promise I will do that, but that definitely sounds like something I should do. So
that would be very cool. I think that, and I agree with that. The assessment is that it is a good slate to try to figure that stuff out, because I'm also trying to figure out where, I'm looking at these early ownerships, and a lot of things don't really make a lot of sense to me. It looks like I mean, Colorado, why aren't they getting any real ownership? Like comparatively to Milwaukee, it's way less. But Colorado is like the 4th most popular team on this slate. That's just kind of weird right off the bat to me. So I think Colorado and Washington are the 2 teams where I'm going to try to get a little bit different, because you'll get a little bit lower ownership if you play those teams. And again, I think you're only really choosing between 3 pitchers, right? Between Peterson, Brown, and Gore. I don't really think. I guess you could argue for Rodriguez and Bryce Wilson, but I think I would just stick with those 3.
No, I kind of disagree. I'm kind of into the Gomber a little bit later.
Okay.
It's 6 games. Excuse me. It's 6 teams, 3 games. Everything is in play as far as I'm concerned. And another thing again that I try to remember to tell people is that if you're using SaberSim, it's really important to know whether or not they exclude pitchers versus hitters or not. And for a 3-game slate, I'm pretty sure that they allow them. They do allow them, because it's not checked off by default. So that's, so that's just something that you don't have to manually do. Okay. But realize that when you build with SaberSim today, it's very likely that you'll get some lineups with your batters versus pitchers, which I think is perfectly fine. But just it's just something that you gotta have to you have to know what's going on. I mean, I'm looking at this. I'm seeing this Milwaukee Colorado game. It's like 11 total, right? So, and it's a late game. So I'm curious what people. Maybe that's why it's not as popular, because they don't know exactly who's playing yet. Maybe that's something to do with it.
Because you're just getting like Elias Diaz. He just came back. He played the last game, but he's supposed to play again today. We'll assume he does. But yeah, there is some questions with that stuff. But I just thought that kind of stood out from the early projections as not being quite as popular as I would have thought it would have been. And just everything seems to be coming up Milwaukee. And I have my rule. I will not do a 5-man stack of Milwaukee on a 3-game slate when they're going to be 45% owned as a stack.
Who do you like more, like Hunter Brown or like, I guess Mackenzie Gore? Like, what are those your top 2? And if so, do you like one more than the other?
Yeah, I like Gore better, but I like Brown almost as much. I think it's pretty close, and I think there's danger with no Vlad in the lineup. Maybe you boost Hunter to just a little bit better. And I think, look, if you're not playing those, I think fine with the Peterson idea. I just think that with how wild he gets, I can talk myself into a lower owned Washington stack pretty easily. That's the reason I liked the Washington stack better than I liked the Toronto stack, is basically the lower owned ones that I was looking at. You know what I mean? So I didn't get as much of the Peterson. I'm more on the Gore and just using the chalk, honestly, for my pitching. But I like your idea. I mean, for what it's worth, Gomber's been good at home. I keep saying this to everybody. He's a much better pitcher at home. Like, I don't know why, but he is in course. You don't have a huge ceiling, but to be honest, if Mackenzie Gore and Hunter Brown don't, there are ceilings they could put up, including, and Peterson could, but there's no reason they have to. They could easily end up, you could end up with like a 14 or 15 being the highest score for a pitcher on the slate. Totally like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my pitching rankings and whatever, and I have Mackenzie Gore, quote unquote, rated the highest, but it's not good. You know what I mean? Like, it's like 15, 16 fantasy points. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, and that's, a 16 fantasy point projection compared to, say, Peterson's 13. It's like one strikeout. You know what I mean? Right. So it's not the end of the world here to go play Peterson, as opposed to Gore. As a matter of fact, I mean, on this type of slate, considering that they've been pretty good, I mean, I think the Mets are totally, like, logical. I mean, it's Just play all these Mets dudes and hope they get something going. Who's your favorite bat? I mean, who's your favorite bats? I presume Milwaukee, Colorado. I mean, they have to be the top two, right?
I have Colorado and Washington as my teams that I like the most. So and then I like Houston a good bit as well. And I actually think Houston, for some reason John Singleton's not projected to be owned very much. I like that, as a sub 10% owned play. If that really holds, that would be awesome. So Singleton, you've cheap bats in Singleton and Myers that you can use. I like the more mini thing for Houston. I will say again, you don't have to stack on these slates, but it's obviously fine too. It's just a 3-gamer. But so I'm getting the Houston, Colorado, and Washington is sort of what I'm doing the most today. Washington being the heaviest exposure. What do you want to give you? And
you touched on something. I mean, as far as the stacks go, I mean, I'll repeat it the same way I usually do. I mean, where it's a really, really big slate, I will, artificially take out the non-traditional stacks out of the SaberSim builds. Mm-hmm. But in the 3-game slates, I'm just going to roll with what they have. So whatever I get. And even if it's like a 3-3 or something, I'm not going to force no stacks, for example, but I'm going to accept, you know what I mean? Like whatever they kind of give me. It turns out they're giving me a bunch of 5-0 stacks anyway. But you want to know why? Because it's like all kinds of Mets, which I'm kind of down with, you know what I mean? Right. But yeah, SaberSim's in a mood, man. They want me to play Gomber and the Mets. Not exactly the chalk, to say the least.
No, definitely.
But again, what's good about that is to fade, like say Hunter Brown and Houston, whatever, is that you get to sit back and wait and see a little bit, about what happens. So I mean, the further you push things back in DFS in general, the better.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna really play too much of the Rodriguez again, just because, I mean, it just doesn't pitch many innings, right? I mean,
yeah.
I currently right now only have 4 pitchers total, and that's Gomber, Brown, Peterson, and Gore. Mm-hmm. So the Milwaukee, the whatever out of the bullpen, I'm not using him, and I'm not using Rodriguez. So the other 4 I'm using.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, except for that I didn't get to Gomber because I'm not playing enough lineups, but I definitely don't mind it. And I wouldn't mind if anybody wants to take a shot on Bryce Wilson either. I think that's totally reasonable.
And he's the one that's coming out of the bullpen to get the win, maybe.
Yeah, and also he pitches innings. You know what I mean? He's usually a starter. They just started using the opener for him because of some rough outings. And since they've started using the opener, he's actually 2 of his last 3 games he's put up 23 and 25. He's got decent enough stuff to where you could take a shot with him against Colorado too. I certainly don't mind it, but he's he's even going to have ownership that's higher than your Gomber. So I like the Gomber idea at very, very, very low ownership. Really hard to get a sub 10% guy that I think has a chance. I mean, things have to go his way, but why couldn't he be the highest scoring pitcher on the slate? Like, it's totally possible.
Yes, he doesn't. I don't think he even needs to be the highest pitcher. You know what I mean?
No, he doesn't have to, but he could be. I mean, 14 might be enough. 13 might be enough.
Yeah.
So that's the way I'm looking at it. And then again, for ceiling, my main lineup, my single entry, it'll be Gore and Brown, and then it'll be Washington. It's like a 4-2-2 with Washington, Houston, Colorado. My biggest buy-in right now. But yeah, it's look, it's a little tiny one. There's not a whole lot of other things going on. You got the Euro Cup going on today. I guess people are into that.
Yeah. Yeah. The US players, yeah, I got some of that going.
Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, it should be a fun little one. And like you said, an interesting strategy slate for sure. Okay. What else? Any questions, guys? Any thoughts? Anything about anything that's going on? Feel free to drop it on in. I don't think there's a whole lot.
When I rerun these things using the so funny. It's just this whole business with the Sims and stuff depends just so much on what field you use, and it's just so hard. But I don't know. I'll see what I end up doing. I don't want to play Rodriguez though, so this whole build is going to get scrapped. I like the ones that I had before, where I had like all the Gomber, because I don't have to do it. You know what I mean? I could always change my mind. I guess the first question really is: do you play Rodriguez, Brown, or anything from this game? And yeah, definitely playing some Hunter Brown and see how we roll, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. And I like the Brown, and I don't like the Houston full stack as much as I do the mini stack because it's sort of a bullpen game. But I think obviously it's totally fine as a full stack. I just think I like getting the little pieces a little bit more than maybe most do.
I know it's a light day, but does anybody have any questions about just basically anything? As long as we're here, if you had any.
Doesn't look like there's anything coming on.
Yeah, I guess not.
Feels holiday-like.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
But okay. So again, watch for a notification if in fact I decide to do that 6 o'clock thingy. Otherwise, I guess we'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good. Good luck, everybody. Sheets, have a good day, man. Good luck, everybody, and we'll see you later or tomorrow.